Ad Astra, or Towards the Stars in English, but kiss that dream a goodbye. As the 21st century arrive, the destructive nature of humanity have proven to lead a problem so catastrophic we might even see space travel as a distant dream. As advancements in space technology increases, the necessity for satellites in the communication, surveillance, and weather sectors grows exponentially. This has led to an increase in satellite deployments since the last decade. Slowly but surely, we are creating a time bomb. If when initiated, will lead to the destruction of every single satellite that is parked in orbit. Kessler syndrome, a condition in which the amount of space junk currently in space will cause a domino effect and create even more space junk, thus creating a barrier in which it will be too dangerous to enter and remain safely in Earth's orbit. According to a study by NASA, millions of pieces of space debris currently sits in Earth's orbit. 26,000 of which are pieces large enough to be tracked and avoided, but the majority are comprised of pieces too small to be tracked. The most dangerous of which ranges in size between 1 centimeter to 1 millimeter because they are still large enough to cause serious damage in satellites. Examples of these are leftover separation bolts, pieces of satellites, and even paint chips from rockets. The collision of these pieces are not your typical earthly collision. They don't just simply stop. This is what happens when a metal ball traveling at orbital velocities collides with a metal block. As you can see, collisions at these speeds are extremely hazardous to the sustainability and longevity of the satellites orbiting around Earth. Even if this is not the case, satellites are still in danger of colliding with each other. Take for example, in February 10th, 2009, two satellites, a US surveillance satellite called Iridium 33 and a decommissioned Russian satellite Cosmos 2251, collided with each other, resulting in the total destruction of both satellites, while simultaneously spraying thousands of pieces of debris into orbit. And so, how do we prevent such an event from occurring again? Removing large pieces of debris out of Earth's orbit is probably the best step to prevent Kessler syndrome. There are proposed ideas of using satellites equipped with huge nets in order to capture and deorbit them. Other than that, some have suggested using powerful blasts of lasers to vaporize a part of debris in order to redirect the orbital trajectory and deorbit them. This is usually a better option as making contact with the debris isn't necessary. You only need to shoot them from afar. Resulting vaporization will alter the course of the debris and eventually deorbit it. Some say that prevention is better than cure. Well, this is true for space as well. We should establish a policy in which every future satellite must have an autonomous deorbiting system when it reaches the end of the cycle, so that no unused satellites are left drifting in orbit. For example, the privately owned company SpaceX has developed a system for their Starlink satellites where they will deorbit themselves towards the end of their lifespan in order to reduce the amount of decommissioned satellites left in orbit. As for the small chunks of debris, it's not exactly easy to just simply get rid of it. This is because these pieces are very minuscule and travel extremely fast. Catching one is like trying to catch a bullet mid-flight. There are proposed ideas of using large electromagnetic spheres to deflect debris out of orbit. However, most of the small debris in Earth's orbit isn't exactly magnetic, so a giant ball of magnet isn't gonna do us any good. The best option we have to clear them out is surprisingly by just simply waiting it out. Why? Because even at those altitudes, there are still some atmospheric drag. The longest time for these pieces to deorbit is projected to range from 2 months to 10 years. These pieces have a higher surface area to mass ratio, so they will be more affected by atmospheric drag. Well, whatever methods we end up using, space debris is still a growing problem, and it will keep growing if we don't act fast to solve it. There is only one way out of Earth, and we need to do our part in making sure that way is not blocked by our own rubbish. Let us band together to create a better sustainable space for all and prevent castle syndrome.